15 bands too wasted to perform. From sold-out arenas to backstage chaos, the music industry has seen it all. Some nights, the party came before the performance. Drugs, alcohol, and rock and roll excess took their toll on even the biggest stars. These are 15 artists who were too wasted to take the stage. Number 15, Fleetwood Mac. The Rumors era defined soft rock excess. Between 1976 and 1977, the band consumed enormous amounts of cocaine while recording one of the best-selling albums in history. Stevie Nicks later admitted the drug use eventually burned a hole through her septum. Mick Fleetwood estimated he spent millions on cocaine during their peak years. Studio sessions routinely started after midnight and ran until dawn. The chaos somehow translated into over 40 million album sales worldwide. Touring proved even more treacherous. John McVie's alcohol consumption reached dangerous levels, while Buckingham and Nicks were barely speaking through chemical hazes. Roadies kept backup supplies ready at all times. Some shows teetered on the edge of disaster, though performances rarely collapsed entirely. Could have loved you, but you would not let me. By the Tusk Tour in 1979, the band was running on fumes and stimulants. Industry insiders called it a functioning disaster that somehow kept producing hits. Number 14, The Beach Boys. While Brian Wilson's mental health struggles are well documented, Dennis Wilson's alcohol and drug addiction often overshadowed the band's harmonies. The drummer and middle Wilson brother battled addiction throughout the 1970s, frequently showing up to recording sessions and concerts in no condition to perform. His drinking intensified after the Manson family connection and a failed solo career. Bandmates sometimes had to cover his parts or cancel his appearances entirely. The final years grew darker. Dennis would arrive at shows visibly intoxicated, slurring words and missing cues. His behavior became so unpredictable that the band hired handlers to monitor him constantly. On December 28, 1983, he drowned in Marina del Rey after drinking heavily and diving repeatedly into the cold water. His blood alcohol level was 0.26. He was 39. The tragedy underscored decades of substance abuse that had slowly consumed one of rock's most naturally talented drummers. Number 13, The Eagles. You get the best of my love. The Hotel California era ran on cocaine and tequila. Don Henley and Glenn Frey both acknowledged the massive drug consumption that fueled their 1976 masterpiece and subsequent tours. Recording sessions at Criteria Studios in Miami and Record Plant in Los Angeles became legendary for excess. Every night when the sun goes down, dealers made regular deliveries to studios and hotel rooms. The band's chemistry deteriorated as addiction amplified existing tensions between members. Rehearsals sometimes dissolved into arguments or simply never happened because members were too high to function properly. Live performances suffered as the decade wore on. Don't you worry, sometimes you just gotta let it ride. The 1980 long-run tour found the band barely speaking off stage and heavily medicated on stage. Their final concert before the 14-year breakup occurred in Long Beach on July 31, 1980, with tensions at a breaking point. Glenn Frey later admitted the cocaine had turned everyone paranoid and hostile toward each other. The Eagles wouldn't reunite until 1994, after members had sobered up and gained perspective on the destruction. Baby, there's nothing I wouldn't do. Number 12, Whitney Houston. And I hope you have all you dreamed of. The voice of a generation began showing cracks in the late 1990s. Whitney Houston's decline from America's sweetheart to tabloid fixture happened publicly and painfully. By 2000, her cocaine and marijuana use had become an open secret throughout the industry. Performances grew erratic. She appeared gaunt at the Michael Jackson 30th anniversary celebration in September 2001, sparking widespread concern. Canceled shows and bizarre interview moments became regular occurrences. The woman who sold over 200 million records worldwide was visibly struggling. The December 2002 Diane Sawyer interview laid everything bare when she famously declared that crack was whack and she made too much money to ever smoke crack. Her 2009 Nothing But Love World Tour revealed a voice damaged by years of abuse. Some performances found her breathless and noticeably off-key. She died on February 11, 2012, at age 48, with cocaine found in her system during the autopsy. The greatest voice of her generation had been slowly destroyed by addiction.
Holding on to memories, and it hurts me more.
Before we continue with the countdown, which of these stories surprised you most? Were you a fan of any of these artists during their peak years? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Number 11, James Brown.
So good, so good, so good.
The Godfather of Soul built his legend on explosive performances and tireless work ethic. But by the 1980s, PCP and cocaine had begun affecting his legendary stamina and focus. His September 24, 1988 police chase through Georgia and South Carolina, while high on PCP, made international headlines. He led officers on a pursuit that ended with his truck riddled with bullet holes. The incident resulted in a 6-year prison sentence, though he served approximately 2.5 years. His drug use had been an open secret within his organization for years before that night. Earlier incidents had already raised red flags throughout the industry. Concert promoters sometimes received complaints about erratic performances and unpredictable behavior.
This is a man's world.
Brown's famous intensity occasionally crossed into dangerous territory when he was under the influence. Band members learned to adapt on the fly. Despite the chaos, he continued performing into his 70s, though some shows fell far short of his legendary standards. He died on Christmas Day 2006 from congestive heart failure at age 73.
Understand that a man has to do whatever he can.
Number 10, The Temptations.
My girl, my girl, my girl, talking about my girl.
David Ruffin possessed one of Motown's most distinctive voices. His lead vocals on My Girl and Ain't Too Proud to Beg helped define the Detroit sound of the 1960s. But heroin addiction slowly consumed him throughout the decade. He began missing rehearsals and showing up to performances completely unprepared. His behavior grew increasingly erratic, with demands for special billing and separate transportation. Motown executives and his bandmates tried interventions. Nothing worked. The group finally fired him in June 1968 after his addiction became unmanageable.
Don't leave me, girl. Now I'm heard a crying me.
His solo career never matched the Temptations' success, despite his remarkable talent. Ruffin continued battling addiction for decades, cycling through rehab programs and comeback attempts that never lasted. He would occasionally reunite with the group for tours, though his reliability remained questionable at best. On June 1, 1991, he died from a cocaine overdose at age 50.
Feel it in my bones, and it feels gone.
Associates dropped him off at a Philadelphia hospital emergency room and fled the scene. The voice that had defined Motown's golden age was silenced by the same demons that plagued him for 30 years. Number 9, Marvin Gaye.
Let's get it on.
The Prince of Soul spent his final years battling severe cocaine addiction that consumed everything. After the massive success of Sexual Healing in 1982, which reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, Marvin Gaye embarked on a 1983 European tour that became notorious for drug-fueled performances.
I think I'm capsizing, but the waves are rising.
He would often arrive late to venues, sometimes by hours. His voice, while still capable of brilliance, showed increasing strain. Paranoia consumed him constantly. He believed people were trying to kill him and sometimes refused to leave hotel rooms for days. He retreated to his parents' Los Angeles home in late 1983, depressed and deeply addicted. The cocaine use had become constant and uncontrollable. On April 1, 1984, the day before his 45th birthday, his father shot and killed him following a violent argument. Marvin had reportedly provoked the confrontation. The autopsy revealed significant amounts of cocaine in his system. The artist who had created What's Going On died in circumstances directly connected to his devastating spiral into addiction. We're getting into some truly tragic stories now. Which Motown or soul artist's story resonates with you most? If you're enjoying this deep dive into music history, consider subscribing for more content like this. Number 8. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. David Crosby's cocaine and heroin addiction nearly killed him multiple times before destroying his place in the supergroup entirely. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, his drug consumption reached catastrophic levels. He was arrested multiple times for drug and weapons possession. Studio sessions became impossible to complete. The other members watched helplessly as their friend deteriorated before their eyes. By 1985, the group had effectively removed him from the lineup. Graham Nash later described the experience as agonizing, watching his friend slowly self-destruct.
So free, how can you catch the spiral?
Crosby served about 5 months in a Texas prison in 1985 and 1986 for drug and weapons charges. Behind bars, he finally got clean after years of failed attempts. Stephen Stills had his own battles with cocaine and alcohol that affected performances and relationships within the group. The band's legendary tensions were often fueled by substances as much as egos. Their reunion tours in later decades proved that sobriety was possible, though Crosby's relationships with former bandmates remained fractured until his death on January 18, 2023. Number 7. The Allman Brothers Band. Southern rock's greatest band paid an enormous price for their legendary excesses over the years. Duane Allman died in an October 29, 1971 motorcycle accident, though drugs and alcohol were constant companions for the entire group. A year later, on November 11, 1972, bassist Barry Oakley died in a strikingly similar crash just 3 blocks away from Duane's accident site. Greg Allman's heroin addiction became the band's most visible struggle. His behavior grew unpredictable, affecting rehearsals and performances. His 1976 testimony against road manager Scooter Herring for drug trafficking fractured the band completely. The cocaine flowed freely throughout their peak years without restriction. Tours became exercises in survival rather than celebration. Multiple members cycled through addiction and recovery repeatedly over the decades. The Allman Brothers broke up and reformed several times, with substance abuse playing a role in each dissolution. Greg finally achieved lasting sobriety after years of health scares, eventually receiving a liver transplant in 2010. He died on May 27, 2017 at age 69. The band's legacy remains inseparable from the drugs that shaped and nearly destroyed them. Number 6. George Jones. Country music's greatest voice earned a different kind of nickname during his darkest years. They called him No-Show Jones because he missed so many concerts due to cocaine and alcohol binges. During the 1970s and early 1980s, he failed to appear at an estimated 50 or more scheduled performances. Promoters lost significant money. Fans went home disappointed and angry.
You're doing fine, just to know.
His wife Tammy Wynette once hid his car keys to keep him from driving to a bar, so he drove his riding lawnmower miles to buy whiskey instead, a story he later confirmed himself in interviews. He finally achieved lasting sobriety with the help of his fourth wife Nancy Jones, whom he married in 1983, though the road included setbacks before becoming permanent.
Oh, but he still loved her through it all.
The man who recorded He Stopped Loving Her Today, often called the greatest country song ever written, nearly threw everything away for the bottle. He died sober on April 26, 2013 at age 81, having finally conquered the demons that almost defined him completely.
In the shadow, so others could shine.
That lawnmower story is legendary for a reason. Have you heard any other wild tales about musicians on this list? Drop your favorites in the comments below. Now let's continue with the top 5. Number 5, Three Dog Night.
Old-fashioned love song, one I'm sure they wrote for you.
They scored 21 consecutive top 40 hits between 1969 and 1975, including #1 singles Joy to the World and Mama Told Me Not to Come. Behind the massive success, vocalist Chuck Negrin was destroying himself with heroin. His addiction began in the early 1970s and progressively worsened with each passing year. By mid-decade, he was sometimes too high to perform effectively on stage. Bandmates covered for him when possible. The music industry tolerated such behavior more readily then, but eventually even that tolerance completely ran out. The band essentially ended as a major commercial force by 1976, with Negron's addiction playing a significant role in their collapse. He spent the next 15 years cycling through rehab programs, homeless shelters, and prison cells. His 1999 memoir, Three Dog Nightmare, detailed the harrowing journey from pop star to addict living on the streets of Los Angeles. He finally achieved lasting sobriety in the 1990s after hitting absolute bottom. The road back was longer than most entire careers, but he survived to tell his story. Number 4, The Mamas and the Papas.
Make up, break up, everything shake up. I guess it had to be that way.
California Dreamin' made them icons of the 1960s. Drug abuse made them a cautionary tale for generations. John and Michelle Phillips, along with Cass Elliot and Denny Doherty, defined the California sound of the mid-1960s with their gorgeous harmonies. They also consumed shocking quantities of drugs throughout their brief existence. LSD, cocaine, heroin, and pills circulated freely among members and their circle. Recording sessions in 1966 and 1967 sometimes occurred through pharmaceutical hazes. They managed only 4 studio albums before imploding completely in 1968.
I need somebody groovy, someone who's able to.
Reunion attempts in the 1970s and 1980s proved how deep the damage truly went. Performances were inconsistent at best and sometimes embarrassing. Cass Elliot died on July 29, 1974, at age 32, with heart failure linked to fatty myocardial degeneration from years of crash dieting. John Phillips later admitted to decades of heroin and cocaine, addiction that consumed his life. Michelle and Denny had their own struggles with substances. The group that harmonized so beautifully on record could barely function together offstage due to the chaos that consumed them all.
Everything there was dark and dirty.
Number 3, Little Feat.
Come carry to have to beat a tone apart.
Lowell George was among the most gifted musicians of his generation by any measure. His slide guitar work and songwriting influenced countless artists who followed him. He also battled serious drug and weight issues that compromised his performances and overall health. By the late 1970s, his cocaine and heroin use had become a major problem for the entire band.
Yeah, since you ran away, guess that guitar player sure could play.
Tensions with other members grew steadily worse. His 1979 solo tour for Thanks I'll Eat It Here found him in terrible physical shape, overweight and over-medicated. On June 29, 1979, he died of a heart attack in a room at the Twin Bridges Marriott in Arlington, Virginia, after a solo concert at Listener Auditorium in Washington, D.C. He was only 34 years old. The coroner found cocaine in his system during the autopsy. His weight had ballooned to dangerous levels in recent months. The combination proved fatal. Little Feat had lost its visionary leader, and the music world lost a genuine genius. The band eventually reformed in 1988, but nothing could replace what died in that hotel room alongside their founder.
And I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari.
These final entries represent some of the most dramatic stories in music history. Before we reveal the top 2, let us know in the comments which artist you think deserves the #1 spot. Number 2, Rick James. Super Freak made him a star. Cocaine made him a cautionary tale for the ages. Rick James rose to funk superstardom in the early 1980s, with hits that defined the era's sound and style. Behind the glitter and flash, his cocaine consumption reached staggering levels that shocked even industry veterans. He claimed to spend over $10,000 weekly on the drug at his peak.
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me,
performances became wildly inconsistent. His behavior grew, increasingly erratic and dangerous. By the mid-1980s, his career had effectively stalled despite his obvious talent. The 1990s brought criminal charges and prison time for assault and kidnapping related to cocaine-fueled incidents in 1991 and 1992 that made national headlines. He was convicted in 1993 and served over 2 years behind bars.
I'm in love with Mary Jane. I'm not the only one.
His 2004 appearance on Chappelle's show made "cocaine is a hell of a drug" a cultural catchphrase that endures today. He died on August 6, 2004 at age 56, with cocaine and methamphetamine found in his system. The man who had defined funk's flashiest era became one of its saddest examples of addiction's devastating consequences. Number 1. Sly and the Family Stone. No artist squandered more potential to drugs than Sly Stone. Between 1967 and 1971, Sly and the Family Stone revolutionized American music completely, blending funk, rock, and soul into something entirely new and groundbreaking.
Dance to the music. Dance to the music.
Everyday People, Dance to the Music, and Thank You became generation-defining anthems. They headlined Woodstock on August 17, 1969, and changed what integrated bands could achieve. Then cocaine and PCP consumption began destroying everything they had built. By 1972, Sly was showing up hours late to concerts, or not appearing at all. The band disintegrated as Sly retreated into paranoia and crippling addiction.
Being down, that's what it's all about. You can't take me but
He became notorious for incoherent, drastically shortened performances when he actually did appear on stage. Original members quit in utter frustration at watching their leader self-destruct. Television appearances showed a visibly impaired artist struggling through songs he had once performed flawlessly. By the 2000s, he was essentially homeless, living out of a van in Los Angeles. As documented in a 2011 New York Post article, the man who had changed American music spent decades lost to addiction, a ghost of revolutionary genius.